Unfiltered Podcast with hosts Mike D'Alessandro and Jeff Angelo. Unfiltered is based in Clark County, Washington, where we discuss news and politics with local leaders.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Unfiltered. I'm Mike D'Alessandro along with Jeff Angelo. Jeff, what's going on, man?
We're doing good. I think, a lot of these shows, I gotta say this right away and get it out of my head.
All right.
You know me, my thoughts need to be out there.
You don't have a filter.
No, unfiltered. There we go.
Boom. How about that?
So a lot of these shows, when we get someone in here, we spend a few minutes talking with them before going into it. And I kind of get a direction, a sense of where we're going. And our guest today is Andy Silver, Counsel for the Homeless, Executive Director. And from what I know, extremely smart dude. Like, I don't hang out with Andy. I can say that about a lot of other people. Andy and I don't hang out together at all. So
because you're intimidated by his superior intellect, or
it really is. He's a legitimately smart dude.
Well, we'll see when we get to trivia at the end of the show here, because actually, we do trivia with all of our guests now, and you and I are up against each other.
Uh-oh. It'll be fun. We
have no idea. I have no idea what the questions are,
but
so we'll see. We'll see.
Andy,
Jeff, I'm ready to hang out whenever you want, man. You have my cell number. I don't know what the problem is.
Well, I have also a bone to pick with Andy today. It's going to get a little awkward for a minute there. It really will. We'll figure that out in a few minutes here. But thank you for coming on. We appreciate it very much.
Thanks for having me.
And let's jump right into it. Where do we even begin? Do we get the awkwardness over with? Do we get it out there? Because we'll be thinking about it this entire time.
Sure.
Okay, so let me tell you, because usually we go straight into politics from here, and you know how much I loathe talking about the politics nonstop, but we have to. That's why we did this show.
That's sort of what we do here.
Sort of what we do.
Yeah.
We're nominated for awards, lots of different places.
We are, and we're pretty humble about it. But
first touch of the day, though. So let me tell you my situation. So lately, and this in my personal life a little bit, I've decided to leave my business behind and come over to Clark County and work on getting a job there. So I applied Counsel for the Homeless.
What's your background, by the way, Jeff?
Oh, my background's in housing. Thank you for asking nonstop.
How about that?
Imagine that.
How about that?
So what I love what I love is going to the interview and have feeling like a decent interview and walking away and the people saying, great, we're going to give you a call either way and that'll be fine, dandy. Guess what? Never got a call. Never. I'm still waiting on the phone call. Who do I talk to down there to even get? I shouldn't have to talk to anyone. They specifically said.
Who'd you interview with?
Do I even say this on the? I probably can't because it's public. It's a nonprofit.
You can say whatever you want.
Okay. So I interviewed for a housing intake position at Counsel for the Homeless, and I got there. And the thing here's two of the things I will say negative that I probably did wrong.
What was
nothing? There was nothing I did wrong. It was fake. I was making it. I didn't do anything wrong. So I got down there.
I have a couple guesses of what you did wrong, but go ahead, finish your story.
Catherine and Natasha, I won't say last names here, but I went into an interview. Kate. There we go.
That's a bad sign right there.
See?
You didn't know the person's name.
You can't say Catherine.
I'm sorry, I got to interrupt here. My visual of the interview is from Step Brothers.
Were you wearing what you're wearing now?
Absolutely not.
You're sitting there and correcting. No, it's Kate. No, it's Kate. No, Cat.
I kept telling her name was Catherine.
Pam, not Pan. Pam. Is the N silent?
Kate Bood. Kate Bood. Her last name's Bud. So
this is what I'm thinking when you tell me that you went for an interview somewhere, and you probably wore a tux.
You made a weed joke, didn't you?
Yes. But it was seriously, like, I felt very confident. Now, here was the problem. I will say there was one problem. They didn't feel that I would be able to transition from being the boss at my own place for that many years into what they considered a lower level position. Yeah. And I couldn't get it across any clearer The whole reason I want this position is because it's a lower level position. I want to grow. I want to do something I haven't done before.
You want the least amount of responsibility as possible.
I have gray hairs coming out of the side of my head from what I've been doing.
Well,
so I want to move away from that 100%.
I just hope that the only reason you invited Andy on wasn't because of this.
It 100% was. If he didn't know that coming here today, then that's on Andy. He's a very smart dude. He should have researched a lot more what I'm about. So,
I knew.
He knew.
The problem
He's probably the one that made the call.
We had.
No, he's not coming here.
We had another finalist who was just a lot more connected, both family and community-wise. So,
I can't even believe what I'm hearing. You know what? And I did this. So I did something with Mark Bolt, and I'm gonna do the same thing here today. I brought another copy of my resume, and we will cover all my connections.
See, he really wants to work at the county because he actually gave Mark Bolt his resume to be the county manager.
The new county, because they're looking.
Interim or permanent?
Permanent.
Come on, interim. What the hell am I going to do with that position?
Do you know how much they're going to pay that interim?
Well, I'll take it. Sure, I'll take it for the time.
He'll do both. For the interim and then
I want the interim position so I can move into the permanent position.
That's actually...
that's what I want.
Makes sense.
So yeah, that was my one gripe with my experienced counsel for the homeless. You know, the best time I had, though, was when I walked in there. The woman who was the admin assistant sitting behind the desk, nicest woman in the world. She saw my name there and she connected it to someone from my family and had a great personal story for me about someone from my family. Cool. It made it all worth it. Then I went up to the second floor, thought everything was fine and dandy. I'm waiting on the phone call. I guess I'll expect it next week, I guess, since Andy's here now. He can take some constructive feedback back to the Council for the Homeless and say, give him a call and say he didn't get the job.
I'm pretty sure he'll get a call tomorrow.
Hopefully. I'm looking forward to that phone call.
After he leaves.
Yeah, right. I can't wait to get that call saying, hey, idiot, why don't you put 2 and 2 together? If you can't do that, you can't work here. So goodbye. Have a nice life.
All right, let's move on.
We're moving. I'm done. Right. I've done my due diligence and making sure.
Gotten that out of the way.
It's actually on my list right here, so I'm going to cross it out now.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
All right, what's next? Let's go.
There's nothing else on his list. Unfortunately, I can see it from here.
That's it.
Hey,
3 items.
I'm going to go play golf. It's been fun, guys.
That's really the way it works. So let's, some personal stuff, and Andy, you can also jump in here with the conversation at any point. I gotta say, dating back, as far as I can think in our podcast to, Eric Holt. He's a good standout person in my mind for where we were at with this. We've talked about the casino.
One of our first guests.
One of our first guests. We've talked about the casino. Eric was not the biggest supporter of the casino. Yeah. However, I battled Eric on that 24/7. I said, Eric, you're wrong. It's going to be great. You and I recently went out to the casino. We spent an evening out there. Yeah. Now, my wallet was impacted by this casino. We probably had the worst 20 minutes on a blackjack table. I've ever come, and I go to Vegas. I play blackjack there. I play table games there. We sat down at a blackjack table and we lost a lot in a matter of minutes. It was the hardest hit I've had in that short amount of time.
But honestly, the highlight of the night was the magician.
Adam the Great. Adam the Great. Yeah,
we had a magician that came up to. We were just sitting there.
He was just walking around.
Yeah, he's kind of,
Andy, have you been out there yet?
No, I want to.
Okay, so it's like a square. The setup for this place is like a square. Yeah. And right in the middle of this place,
except the name of the bar is 360, so it's not really a square.
Yeah, it's a circle bar, a circle in a square. But we were in the 360 lounge. We were hanging out and having a drink, and Adam the Great came out.
No, you were having a drink. I go to the bar to get a drink, and they tell me you can only buy 1 drink at a time.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You were drinkless.
I was drinkless, and I had to wait like 10 minutes for it, so I got my wife a drink, and I'm like drinkless. So I come sit down, a little, upset about it, because I really wanted a drink. Sit down, all of a sudden I come back, and there's Adam the Great, right? Is his name?
Yeah, Adam the Great. He was, and he was.
He was great.
He was great.
He was funny.
He was amazing. We got his business card. We're gonna
bring him on the podcast so he can actually do magic, so our listeners can see it.
We have to wait for Jeff to apply for a job and not get it, and then bring him on the podcast.
Oh, as a magician, he can probably do it. If he's a clown, you do a clown, right?
I do that already.
Yeah. See?
Well, the other thing I want to say is also a shout out to Chris Stipe. He's a big fan of the podcast.
Oh, yeah. I got to finally meet him.
We ran into him just at the bar when we were sitting there, and you met him. He's big. He's listened to every single podcast that we do, and he's a huge fan of the show. So shout out to Chris there. He's a
big Trump supporter.
Trump supporter. He's going to be Stipe on the street for us down the road. A special correspondent.
Might be. We need a Trump correspondent.
We do.
Why not?
That'd be interesting around downtown Vancouver.
Oh, that'd be pretty. I would definitely start some interesting conversations.
But it was good. You and I got to kick it for a while. Our wives went shopping.
Oh, man.
Which was absolutely ridiculous.
So, Andy, the first thing you think of when you go to casino is like, I'm going to go to a store and buy something, right?
No.
It was literally, so we walked in because I went through the valet parking there, and we walked in, and immediately, because I was like, okay, we need to wait for Mike and Angie wherever they're at. Yeah. Immediately, Noelle is gone into a store shopping. It was immediate.
What kind of stores do they have?
Dude, that's I was like, why?
Well, they have like your typical gift shop, right? With like paraphernalia.
Yeah. But then they had like women's clothing store.
Shoes and purses and clothes.
And, like little designer stuff. So it was interesting. We still did not eat out there though. And
no, it was we decided not to do that this time.
MJ's Steaks, but I also heard Line and Lure is really good out there. So I want to try that as well. That's surf and turf a little.
Surf and turf.
But is it so? There are no free drinks on the floor, and then when you go to the bar, it's only one drink per person. What's up with that?
Well, because there's some deal.
They card you at the bar.
They card you at the bar. You can't walk away with 2 drinks, only one for yourself. Which we weren't even buying for ourselves.
No.
So that caught me a little.
You got like a water, didn't you?
Yeah, I had to.
It was like
I wanted to walk away with a drink.
I didn't even think of that. I should have just got a water too and been done with it.
Yeah, I just told him I need this foo-foo drink for my wife and a water. And he asked me for my ID, and who cares?
They do have a Starbucks there, which is interesting.
They do have Starbucks.
I grabbed one of those later. But.
It was good though. Overall, good experience. I want to go back. I do, because I'm big into the table games that are outside of Blackjack too, and 3-card poker. I love 3-card poker. It's my thing. That's I go to Vegas with my wife, and we go to the Bellagio and do 3-card poker on the tables there, and I could spend all weekend doing it. So, and then in a couple years they'll have the event center, they'll have the poker room, and they'll have a hotel.
Yeah.
So it's going to grow. And I'm sorry, I look forward to it. I know that there's some detractors who are not looking forward to it as much. But me personally, I'm highly looking forward to going out there, making an overnight out of it. Gaming, dinner, the whole 9 yards.
There'll be a lot of that happening.
We're gonna hook it up. We're gonna get the.
You're still holding up. You're still holding up for the buffet, aren't you?
I am. I'm still.
There's no buffet, right?
No buffet. That's the only thing.
Yeah.
Had there been a buffet, we would have done that for dinner, right?
Oh, I would have left my wife at home and been out there just with you and myself and
just buffet.
Yeah, going out there. But it was fun though. You had a good time.
Oh no, I did. Yeah, it was fun. We've been there a couple times. We went there. Made the mistake of going there the first weekend it was open, but we knew it was going to be busy. Yeah. But it was fun. Yeah, it was busy.
Went to the high rollers room.
Oh, we did. We walked around in there. We didn't.
It was Clark County high rollers room though.
We're gonna have to ask.
What's the amount for the Clark?
Well, it's not much. If you had $5 to drop into a machine, you're a high roller.
You're a high roller.
Seriously, it's a legit.
That's a $5.
The slot machine,
$5,
and then the tables were $25.
There was one table that was like $15-$20 that you could play on the roulette. If you're willing to put 15 down on a number, you're a high roller.
Man,
you're a high roller out here.
Some night I'm just gonna put on a tuxedo and sit in that high roller.
Yeah, I can't wait to put on like gold chains and stuff like that and roll out there and just be in that room. And the room was, comparatively to everything else, was dead.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah,
there wasn't many people in there.
Do you at least get free drinks in the high roller?
We didn't stay long enough.
So yeah, we just wanted to say we were high rollers,
Right.
so we walked through.
We should just sat in a machine and not pay money.
We did
and then eventually get a free drink and then
stared at the machine
And
for a
leave.
while and got up and left. Next time, tips of the trade.
So I'm struggling here to make a segue from casino to council for the homeless.
You can't do it. You can't.
So I guess
I got one for you.
Okay.
All right.
Where are all the people who work at the casino going to live? You've
Well,
got a
that's-
lot of not,
How many employees do they have at the casino? So like
it's over
1,500 or so.
Yeah.
It's quite a bit, man. I mean, there was. I mean, everywhere I looked, you saw employees out there.
Oh yeah.
They're not going to be living in Richfield.
Well, they can't afford to live in Richfield.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. That's. They're gonna have to go north.
The Camus of the North. Let's just go Richfield. Yeah.
I mean, seriously. I mean, that's a good question for that.
I think Battleground has some. I mean, I wouldn't call it affordable housing, but more affordable housing options. But really, it's Vancouver, right? I mean,
Or Kelso Longview.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Well, here's a transition for you here. I mean, I was out there and I was light a few $100s in a few moments. Like it was gone in a heartbeat. There's some people out there that I ran into because we were walking through there, and it's really weird because I'm used to Vegas. You can walk around Vegas. You don't know anyone.
Yeah.
You don't run into anyone you know. At this casino, I mean, we were walking through, and I remember saying, I've run into 6 or 7 people in just an hour out here that I do know, that I see out there in the community.
Yeah, we ran into a couple
lot.
people as well. Yeah.
And some of these people are like serious gambling. I mean, that they take their paychecks and it's all into the gambling.
Yikes.
And that could lead down the road to some serious repercussions.
Sure.
And that is kind of where I'm going with this, Andy.
That's scary.
You're the executive director at Council for the Homeless. Could some of those issues impact the reasons for homelessness? I don't know. I won't say I'm oblivious to everything that goes on in the homelessness community, but I mean, does that worry you at all, or does that even have a blip on your radar for things that could come down the road?
I don't know a ton about gambling addiction. I mean, I know it's a serious issue. I don't. I'm not. If this was Las Vegas, I think that would be a different story.
Probably.
Right.
Yeah.
But I'm more concerned about just the overall housing market, and this just being another factor in bringing in a couple thousand workers who can't afford to live here.
There's a lot of factors with the homelessness crisis. Do we call it a crisis at this point? Or
The messaging people tell me not to use the word crisis, but I don't know what else to call it. I mean, it's bad.
A crises.
Homeless fun facts.
Crises.
I mean,
People say
what do we
crises.
call
Tomato call crises.
Yeah, that's true. You could just go that route. But I mean, so what's the terminology you guys are using at a professional level for what's happening right now? I mean, what is going on? Let's start there. So our community, when did you come on board with Council for the Homeless?
February of 2012, so a little over 5 years ago.
And now, real quickly, what's your background?
I was, prior to that, I was in Washington, D.C., and I'm a lawyer by training and was a legal aid attorney, working in a place that did direct legal representation and then specifically focused on homelessness.
Like I said, smart dude. Smart dude all the way around.
Yes, we did policy, we did advocacy, we did lobbying on a local level in D.C. And
what brought you out here, though? Why did what really made you jump on the bandwagon of coming all the way out here?
So my wife grew up in Corvallis, Oregon, until middle school or something like that.
That's where my mother-in-law lives.
Oh, really?
I'm just kidding. She's great.
Big fan of the show. Let's hope not.
Big fan.
This is not going to go over well.
Yeah, we'll edit that part out. But so when we met, my wife and I, we were long distance. So I convinced her to move to DC And the deal was she moves there for 5 years. We move out here forever. Of course, when I made that deal, we were just dating at the time. Anything can happen in 5 years. It seemed like
5 years, she's gone.
Clearly had the better end of the deal.
That's funny.
4 years later, we moved out this way. Wow.
So you're not a very good lawyer. You were good with that.
Well, she's a lawyer too. Unfortunately,
there you go.
Neither one of us practice anymore. But.
So can you explain for people listening what exactly the Council for the Homeless, what it is?
Yeah, sure. So it's kind of a weird name, but the Council for the Homeless is a nonprofit, a 501c3.
Okay.
And it was formed back in the late 80s by Clark County, the City of Vancouver, the Vancouver Housing Authority, and community partners. For those who aren't familiar, the 80s is really when modern homelessness sort of became a thing. It was, so if you think back, we had in the 60s and 70s, we deinstitutionalized our mental health system. And then we started losing our good paying union jobs. And then in the 80s, Reagan came in and made major cuts to housing and a lot of the other services. So we had that we had this idea that we're going to move people out of these institutions into the community, which was great. Then we cut all the funding for the community, and homelessness appeared. So back in the 80s, these community groups got together and said, we need a entity that's that's leading the efforts around homelessness, that's coordinating across government and nonprofits and faith community and business community. So that's where the Council for the Homeless came from. And back then it was, it's called the Council for the Homeless because it was sort of a commission. So you had representatives from Battleground and from Vancouver and the state government and the different service providers. And sort of over time, as the community's response got more sophisticated, it sort of transitioned more into a staffed organization rather than, but we kept the name.
Okay. So what kind of work what do you do?
We do a bunch of different stuff. So we do policy and advocacy. We do some lobbying, both at the local level and state level. Okay. We keep all of the data for all the different providers that are providing homeless services so that we know, is this program working? Where should we put the money? Where are the needs? But our main work is through what's called our Housing Solutions Center, which is the one-stop access point for anyone who's homeless in Clark County. They come to us. All of the different programs, we've consolidated their eligibility for all the different programs. So a family, an individual, they come to us, we figure out what they're eligible for, Share, Second Step, Impact Northwest, all the different programs let us know when they have an opening, and we make the match.
Okay.
It's what I interviewed for.
We're going back to that again. I do have another question.
I have some breaking. I'm sorry, you didn't get the job.
Breaking news.
Some breaking news.
Yeah, ridiculous. Ridiculous.
Man. It only happened on Friday. This is being taped on a Sunday. So this is why you haven't heard yet. All right.
I thought this happened a while ago.
It was a little while. And, here's the thing about it. No, I'm not even going to get into it.
Let's just stop with the...
I think they reposted the position. We
didn't repost the position.
I'm pretty sure they reposted it.
That is...
So going back to the affordable housing...
fake news, yeah.
Thank you. Fake news for sure. There was a recent study that you're talking about affordable housing and what housing costs are.
Sure.
And I serve on Battleground City Council, and I know we've talked to elected officials. This is just a huge issue, which leads to homelessness, right? I'm sure it's a factor for sure.
The primary one.
So there's a recent study that showed here locally that this is interesting how much you have to make per hour to afford this, right? So if you're on your own, think of it that way. Studio apartment, $18 an hour.
Yeah.
1-bedroom apartment, $22 an hour. And a 2-bedroom apartment, around $28 an hour. So I guess along with your, part of your organization's role is advocacy, lobbying. What are you doing to address the affordable housing issue that we're having right now?
So it's a great question. I mean, so basically 3-4 years ago, at the Council for the Homeless, we ran headfirst into this brick wall, which was what I consider the housing crisis that's happening across Clark County. And we first noticed it because pretty much the entire homelessness system relies on the private rental market to work.
Okay.
So, whether it's a program that's aimed at families that just need a little bit of help, or the individual with schizophrenia who needs a lot of help, they all pretty much work the same way, which is that they provide rental assistance. So they help the person afford rent, and then they provide services to the person or the family to either help them increase their income so they can take the rent over, or if it's somebody who really needs long-term help, maybe just to keep them stable. So 3 or 4 years ago, we started seeing this trend where these landlords and property management companies that we'd worked with for a long time weren't that interested in working with us anymore because they didn't need to. And this sort of snowballed. And, we had this guy, Dave, who was our landlord outreach coordinator at the time. And we had this running joke because he used to come to every meeting. We'd say, "Dave, how's it going?" He said, "It's tough out there, guys." That's what he'd always say. It's tough out there. But he was the canary in the coal mine because, as we've seen now in the last couple of years, this vacancy rate plummeted for apartments down to below 2%. Yeah. Rents skyrocketed, over 50% increase in the last 5 years, while wages remain stagnant. And we saw this huge increase in demand for homelessness, while at the same time it got harder to get people out of homelessness, because now you're helping that family afford a $1,200 apartment instead of an $800 apartment, right? Yeah. So what we did at the Council for the Homeless, we undertook a couple of years ago sort of a study of why is this happening in our community? What are the factors, and what are the gaps? Who's going to fix this problem? And where we landed was that we had a huge capacity issue. We have capacity issues around policy. So who's working on zoning and land use and all of these pretty boring but extremely important reasons why housing costs are expensive in our communities. But then also we had capacity issues around mission-driven ownership of housing and finance. So how do we create new apartments and homes that aren't going to double in rent, who aren't going to screen out people who need a second chance? Yeah. And we started a company called the Housing Initiative a year ago. Okay. Sirk Brahm, who was on our board of directors and has a background with these issues, stepped off to run the company. And now we're just starting to develop our first housing with the model of not using the traditional tax credit and affordable housing funding sources, but trying to really marry private sector financing techniques with some mission-driven ownership and some mission-driven lending from local philanthropists, from the community foundation, and kind of put it all together to start creating a portfolio of housing in our community that is going to be social justice driven, not market driven.
So that's the thing. I'm getting at is if there's supply and demand, right?
Yeah.
If there are so many people out there in our community who are looking for housing, obviously not everybody's looking for the same type of housing that we've talked about. There's housing diversity, right? Some people can afford a $200,000 house, and people can afford $800 a month apartment, right? So are we saying that this is really the private sector being greedy? Is that a big part of this, where they're not they know that they can get more, so they're going for more? I'm not saying that's right. Maybe greedy is the wrong word, but in a free market may not be the right word either. But in that sort of realm, if they can go out there and build an apartment and get $1,200 for it, so they're not going to build the $800 apartment. They're not going to build a $200,000 house, and they go out there and get the $400,000 house. So you start to
part of the issue that I saw, and I was kind of born into both sides of the issue here when it comes to private property management ownership of these apartments. Then later on got involved with housing from a different angle, because I grew up around my father's business. It's where I went every summer And then as I got older, he moved me into the property management side of things. And I kind of had this set of eyes for what his company's doing. Then after I left the company, I went to work in nonprofit. And lo and behold, what happens? I get involved with housing and nonprofit. Go figure. But one of the things I really took away from what my dad told me, and we've talked about my dad on here before, is that, there's people have come to him wanting him to subsidize portions of his property and in return get a tax incentive to subsidize it.
Sure.
And yeah, the interest isn't there. Number one, the tax incentive does not offset the lost revenue that he could be gaining by just keeping the entire property intact.
Yeah.
It didn't work that way. The numbers didn't work out. And so, yeah, someone like him at his advanced age is not going to be on board with it. And it's tough to have those conversations locally with some of these property management.
What I don't understand, though, and maybe both of you can shed some light on this, what I understand is, if there's a demand out there, maybe not for subsidized housing, but for housing in general at a certain level, why is it not being built?
I can take, and I think this is the same answer that's to your previous question about is it greedy? So we have created the regulatory system around housing determines where the profit is, and we have created a system where the profit, and it's this is whether we want to use a term, a negative connotation term or not. It's a profit-based system. That's what we've set up as a society. So we have a profit-based system, and then our zoning and our land use rules put the profit at building the biggest home that you can sell or doing high-end apartment buildings. That's where the biggest profit is. And that's based on system development costs, land costs, based on, a lot of people don't realize this. We mandate how big a house. You can't build a house smaller than a certain size. So when you drive around neighborhoods that were built in the 20s and 30s, downtown Vancouver, for example, or uptown, you see what we now would call a tiny home. We're having this whole tiny home debate. That used to just be a home.
Yeah.
They were mixed together. You'd see a triplex, a smaller home, a big home, all in the same neighborhood. You can't do that anymore. So it's a combination of the developers and those folks, but they're just working in the environment that we've created for them. So to me, we need some massive rethinking of how we approach housing as part of our community structure.
We're in the right community to do something like that, in my mind. This is this community is great. The problem is we're also running out of land. We really quickly. It's no joke. How many times do you need to go back to the county and say we need more land use for this, more land use for that? We quickly are running out. So that's a big problem. And that's what you mentioned, tiny homes. We're going to have to, at some point, get Tim Probst on here, I think. And he's Mr. Tiny Home himself.
Is he?
The amount of times I've had a conversation about tiny homes with this guy is, he loves the tiny homes. But it's one of those things that it's going to take some time. Now, recently, just last year, Prop 1.
Yep.
Prop 1 was passed. What's the positive impact that will have on this community? And where do we go with that from here? Because it's 7 years. Is it a 7
years? So it's $6 million. This is a affordable housing levy.
There we go.
$6 million a year for 7 years. City of Vancouver. And when you mentioned the land issue, unfortunately, Vancouver has been in the forefront of working on this issue in Southwest Washington, and we have the least amount of land left available in Vancouver. So we're going to have to spread this conversation outside of Vancouver. But Prop 1, the Affordable Housing Fund, will be a huge help. The city just is in the midst of their first round of applications for new construction and preservation, and they got, I believe it was 10 applications for about $5.8 million that would build, I think it was somewhere around 250 affordable apartments if it all got funded. So that's a huge step in the right direction, but it's going to take, there's no one solution that's going to get us out of this crisis.
We have to have multiple. We have to have a plethora of solutions.
Exactly.
So let's, away from this kind of ties into the housing crisis. Our homeless friends and neighbors, a lot of them are downtown right now. There's this, was it the Lincoln neighborhood? Mm-hmm. The whole street that has kind of just been, if you've been down there before, you know what I'm talking about. A lot of homeless people are living there right now. There's been a lot of issues at the city hall level, city council level, about what to do with the homeless neighbors that are down there versus the impact on the businesses. There's business owners that don't want them down there. Mm-hmm. There's other people saying there's nowhere else for them to be. What's the right move here? Where do we go here? Yeah,
we're in a terrible situation.
It's a tough deal.
We have, when we say that, I think people need to understand what we mean when we say they have nowhere else to go. We mean that literally. Yeah. We have, as a society, basically criminalized homelessness. You're not allowed to be alive in the United States in most places if you don't have a home to go to. So that's from where you're going to sleep to where you're going to go to the bathroom to where you're going to take a shower. And Vancouver and Clark County in general is in this growth period where we're sort of going from a sleepy little suburban community to more of an urban center. And at the same time, we had this housing prices that we're talking about, and we have homelessness shooting up. At the same time, we're developing the waterfront, which was a huge area where people kind of were homeless and nobody cared because nobody went down there. So we have more people who are homeless. We've pushed them out into areas where their businesses and other people are living. Mm-hmm. And it's not just downtown Vancouver. It's Hazeldale. It's Battleground. We have encampments in Battleground and Washougal. And we're seeing this huge conflict between people who are struggling, who are homeless, and people in the neighborhoods and business owners. There aren't any good solutions without spending more money on this issue as a community. We need day centers. We need emergency shelter. We need places where it is not only legal, but we want people who are homeless to go so that they can get a good night's sleep, take care of their hygiene, and connect with services to hopefully get them into housing programs, etc. And right now, that the demand on that system is just so much bigger than the resources that we have. In 2016, only 18% of people who were homeless who were actively trying to get housing assistance got housing assistance. 18%.
Wow.
Of the people who got housing assistance, 86% are still stably housed 2 years after getting assistance. So it's not that we don't know what works to end homelessness. We just have a tiny amount of it compared to the level of need.
So, and obviously you follow this issue a lot more closely. It's your life, basically, you do every day. So this homelessness issue, I've realized, I guess it's become more of an issue here locally over the last few years. Ironically, as you said, as the economy is improving, we're seeing growth from commercial, residential growth all over the county. Things are, from the casino to the waterfront. Ironically, at the same time, more homelessness. So, is this issue happening in other places around the country? And if I'm assuming it is, where are we at in that I guess that ranking? Are we one of the metro areas that has the most homelessness? First, that's the first part of the question. The second part is, why us? Why would we? What makes us different than the other jurisdictions? Are they doing more? Sure. Is it just, kind of go into that a little bit for us?
So if you look nationally, it's sort of a mix right now of areas where homelessness is increasing versus decreasing. But there's some major trends. The West Coast is one of those, all up and down the West Coast, homelessness is on the rise. And pretty much there's agreement across the board, and studies have shown this, that it's related to the combination of housing costs and income. So in communities where, like ours, where income, especially at the lower half of the scale, has remained stagnant while housing prices are jumping up, you're seeing huge increases in homelessness. That's true of from Seattle to, well, really across Washington State, but LA now I think has the third largest. There are 45,000 people who are homeless at any given time in LA, which is, I mean, the town I grew up in was 30,000. You got 45,000 people who are homeless in LA. So you're seeing these trends. And another thing that we have happening in the Pacific Northwest and the West Coast is that we have large net migration to the area. So if you think about it, we've got not enough housing, not enough high-paying jobs, and then when we're building, we're trying to, we're bringing jobs, we're trying to build, but they're not necessarily going to the person who lived here for the last 20 years, because we've got new people coming in all the time. And then with what's happening across the river in Portland, you've got people who are getting priced out of Portland looking where they're going to live. So you've got net migration to the area, and then in the metro area, you have people going to Vancouver now, and we're seeing Vancouver catch up with Portland.
So since it's happening on the West Coast, I guess my question being, what is there anything? You mentioned LA. I know there's a lot more people in LA than we have here. So percentage wise, I'm just curious where we kind of are in that mix of percentage of homeless that we know of, right? That I'm not even sure how that's
per capita.
Per capita, thank you. Where we're at with that.
So
relative to
the problem with comparing ourselves to other jurisdictions, there is one standard way to count homelessness that everyone in the country has to do, and it's called the point in time count.
Okay.
It happens every January. You pick a day. Ours is I think the third Thursday in January every year. And you count how many people that night slept in emergency shelters. And then you go out with volunteers and actually try to find people who are out in the community. We have here in Vancouver, we have a project, Homeless Connect, that we try to get people to come to, so it's easier to count. Point in time counts are the least effective way to count homelessness, because it's a one day, it's a snapshot. You don't really have a good sense if that day is representative of any day out of the year. And then also it's very hard, think of Clark County. We're not going to find everybody in Yakult or it's too big a county. It's the landscape isn't conducive. So because of that, you can compare per capita to other jurisdictions, but it's using that point in time count data. Whereas locally, through our Housing Solutions Center, we have much more robust, much more comprehensive data, but there isn't any national collection of that type of data.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, I just from my personal experience working on homelessness in other communities, I think even though homelessness has gotten much worse in Clark County, I think comparatively to other places I've worked, it's still not close to as bad as you would see in a large city like a Washington, D.C. or in L.A. or even Portland. But part of our job is we got to make sure we don't go in that direction.
What do we need to be doing as citizens to help with this problem? I mean, it just feels sometimes, I guess, like what can we really do? How do we make any sort of difference? Because I just don't know how to fix something like that. So what can we be doing?
Well, let's start with the easiest, and then we can work up in degree of difficulty.
I love the easy part. Yeah. That's my favorite part. Give me the easy way.
I think the first thing is that there are some very deeply ingrained myths about homelessness that not just in our community, but in lots of communities. One is that people see all of the different nonprofits who do great work, and they think if they see somebody who's outside who's homeless, they must be choosing to be homeless because I know about all the good work Share does and Council for the Homeless and all these different nonprofits. And if that guy who I saw there a year ago is still there, that must mean he's not reaching out for help. He's just choosing it. As we talked about earlier, actually, all of those nonprofits are just overwhelmed right now with the level of need, and our resources that the nonprofits have don't come close. So there are lots of, whether even families with small children that we know about who are calling us for help, who are trying to do everything they can to get into emergency shelter. And we're telling them, I'm sorry, we'll stick with you, but we don't have anything right now.
Sure.
So part of it is educating our friends and neighbors that for the vast majority of people, nobody wants to be homeless. People want to have a safe place to live. They might have been beaten down by society. They might feel like people have failed them. A lot of people who are homeless have trust issues. But if they're given the right option, the right help, 99% of the time, people are going to take it. And part of this too is that as it's very difficult. I was just in the park earlier today with my 3.5-year-old daughter, and there was somebody who was homeless there who was clearly having a very tough time. And it is hard to live your life and go to work and do fun things and see that. So we try to rationalize it. We think to ourselves, that guy, that there's something wrong with that guy. Yeah. He must have done something bad, or he's choosing, or and it's a way for us to not just break down and say, well, I don't know what to do. So we need people to understand that landscape. And then I think we can start talking about the solutions that are going to affect us all personally. You saw the community respond with Prop 1, people being willing to pay a little bit more in property tax. Another big one, though, is that we're going to have to be willing to live in denser communities in terms of housing density. And that's one where people get really worked up about,
My wife would. She does not want that. She wants to move out further so we have more of a land area around us. She does not like the city, being downtown in the city. She likes the old homes, don't get me wrong, but she wants to lift one of those old homes off the ground and take it to the country.
Well, and there's nothing, I'm not saying every inch of our community should be, I'm just saying if you live, when you have single family homes that are right close to the urban center, we need to be okay with the fact that that maybe somebody's going to build an apartment building next to you or a triplex, and over time that helps with the housing costs and the issues that we have. Seattle went through this very intense process where they were looking at their housing costs, and they made 100 and something recommendations of what they could do, and there were all kinds of things in there, tax increases. The one thing that got people so outraged that they dropped it from the list before it moved forward was the idea that they would allow denser developments in single-family home neighborhoods, and that's in Seattle. So we have a lot of work to do around that, but really that's what it all comes down to. If there aren't enough places for people to live, the cost of those places are going to be higher, and there are going to be more people falling out of the bottom of the housing market.
There's a lot of factors, and like I think you mentioned, there's so many different ways that we have to go at it. That means that everybody has to be on the same page, right? I guess that's probably the biggest struggle is I think at least locally here we've seen some willingness from the city of Vancouver and the county and some other areas as well to try to be part of the solution, try to find a way not to ignore it. The fact that it's in every community, whether it is, like you said, Yakult or Battleground or Vancouver, you may not see it every day. It may not be as prevalent as in, people camping on a street corner as we have in Vancouver, but it's there, it's happening. People are sleeping in their cars. Yep. People are staying with a friend or a relative or whatever, and they just, because they can't. So there's a huge issue here that has so many different things going on at once. Again, it goes back, and I think you hit the nail on the head earlier about how, You know, I'm sitting here thinking of this as a you know, city councilor. You know, you hit the nail on the head when you mentioned density. Oh, don't go there. People are sick and tired of houses being so close together. And you know, they're looking for, you know, hey, I moved here to get out of the city, right? I mean, because people still don't view Vancouver as a city, right?
Right.
It's not like I moved out of Portland to get away from that. You know, so we get that in Battleground. We're getting people that move out of Vancouver or Portland or even California to get away from the density, to have more of an open feel, a smaller community feel, right? So I think the challenge for legislators and counselors and whatnot is to find solutions that keep that aesthetic feel of a smaller community, which I think can be done by the way you zone, right, and the way that you put in code development standards and what projects may look like, you know, to kind of fit everything together. But when you're an urban center, and there's a lot of services, and again, I'm going back to Battleground. Here's my perspective as I'm sitting here we're talking to Andy, and I'm like, this stuff's just going through my mind. What can we do moving forward?
Yeah.
You know, we're the urban center for North County.
Yeah.
We're the services center. We have we have every major, you know, we have Providence Legacy has a clinic there. We have Rose Family that does Medicaid patients. Columbia River Mental Health is there. We've got dialysis, 2 different dialysis clinics. We've got all these.
Council Homes is there once a week now.
Okay, yeah. CMAR. We've got all these things going on in Battleground, and we are a service center now for, you know, 70, 80,000 people in North County. So it's an interesting dynamic, because I can tell you from people living in Battleground, they don't view the city as that. Yeah. So the challenge as a leader, right? You know, we've discussed leaders and managers ad nauseum lately.
So, yeah, it's been quite a conversation.
You have to see, you know, while this may not be an issue that we see every day, it's a growing issue. And as population grows, we're going to see more people struggling to make it, and either on the streets or, you know, homeless. Not everybody who's homeless is on the street. No. That's also a stigma too, right?
Yeah, no, and then you mentioned the families living in cars.
Yeah.
I think a big part of this, though, is, you know, you're right that the vast majority of the community, you talk about houses closer together, that sort of thing, people freak out.
Yes.
But I think what they're not connecting is that, so part of the reason people live in Battleground, you know, you were saying get out of the urban center, they think about schools, right? You mentioned the health care. Homelessness and housing instability affects all of those other systems immensely. So what they're trading for the lack of housing density is that their kid is going to a school system where they're, even in Battleground, hundreds and hundreds of other kids sitting next to their child who are homeless, who are living in cars, who are doubled up in couch surfing. And there are studies that show it doesn't only affect those children. When you have people moving in and out of the classroom throughout the year, it affects the entire classroom. So I think that's why I kind of went back to just awareness and education. I think if the community understands how much this issue is affecting everything in their community, maybe they'll be more open with the right sort of planning and you know, that you were talking about, so that you're not just putting a high-rise apartment building in the middle of a single-family neighborhood, but they might be more open to the idea. And
not to bemoan the point here, but going back to the word stigma, I think, you know, recently, as I've gotten older now, I'm 37 now, last week, yeah. So,
well, there you go,
catching up, yeah. So as I've gotten older, I've noticed that, and I think this is a great thing, that the mental health stigma, you know, people that have any sort of mental health issues, whether it's anxiety, bipolar, depression, there's a lot more support for that, and there's a lot more people that are willing to talk about their issues and how what they're dealing with. So homelessness is one of those things where, you know, when you don't experience it personally, like you said, people just can't relate to it because they don't even know anybody that's homeless, or they have never been homeless, to be able to relate to that. And like you said, think that person on the street corner is, you know, the old word bum, right? He doesn't want to get a job. All he wants to do is, you know, do drugs or whatever. Again, there's a lot that goes into that. I mean, some people that are on the streets can't get the health care that they need because of things they've done in the past. Maybe not even. Maybe just because of they just can't get the health care they need. How are we going to get them employed, right? How do we employ somebody who doesn't have an address?
Right.
I mean,
it's tough. You know, I work, you know, my work over in Oregon. Yeah. I run into very similar issues. I work with a lot of adults with developmental disabilities or who are battling mental health issues who also experience homelessness. Yeah. And one of the things that it's really tough is that point of contact. It's very tough. You know, I want to get them into voc rehab program and it's impossible to do, or they have a meeting with someone who can potentially provide some temporary housing even for a couple weeks. Yeah. You can't find them anywhere. I call it ghosting me because I get ghosted all the time. But they're nowhere to be found. And but when they need something, they pop their head up, you know, above the surface and let you know they're there. And I have to take that opportunity right then and meet with them. But it's really hard. I mean, I think that the Northwest, Washington has done a great, Oregon as well, has done a great job at destigmatizing the people who have mental health issues and who are battling some things. We have great resources for anyone who has substance use disorders or any sort of thing like that, but not the displacement issues that come from losing housing due to environmental factors. When it's just housing prices go up, now you're homeless.
Right.
Your company downsizes, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many factors involved, and I guess that's the biggest thing to me is maybe we can get to a point. Hopefully that is the first step, is getting past the stigma, right? Yeah. Because you want to help people that want to help themselves. I think that's a lot of what people will hold back on helping homeless people, unfortunately, is they feel like they're not helping themselves. And I'm glad that we've had the discussion here today to shed a little light on that. You know, I think that's just a huge. I mean, I admit I don't know a whole lot about the issue from obviously where you're coming from, but to understand that there is that stigma out there, I hear it a lot, all the time, and it's good to have this information, so that I can enter those conversations and say, hey, do you understand what's going on here? And maybe, you know, over some time here, as we've, you know, Prop 1 is a great example. People are getting to the point now where like, okay, we need to help people. We need to realize that they are trying to help themselves and kind of keep taking those steps forward. And I guess I want to end the questions. We've had some real heavy questions here, and it's been great, though. No, this is good. This is good. But I do want to ask you one last question, hopefully more you know, lighter question. What makes you optimistic about the situation?
Well, I think, you know, you mentioned, again, Prop 1. I mean, the fact that over 57% of Vancouver, a place where
57%,
I think it was 57.6%, wow. And that was, you know, you've got a jurisdiction where there are a fair number of people who part of the reason they choose to live in Vancouver is because they don't want to pay Oregon taxes. I mean, that's not everyone, obviously, but so when you have a vote like that in Vancouver, I think it is a strong message that people are starting to understand this issue, that it is something they care about, that they want to live in a community where people have safe, stable access to a place to raise their family, you know, to improve education, and that really makes me optimistic that we're at a sort of a tipping point. Good. And going to be able to get things in the right direction.
Well,
the last thing here I got to make sure and get out there, because we've been touching on what do we do, you know, what are more things that we can be doing as neighbors and community members and stuff like that. Andy did come with a purpose today. There's some events going on. There is an education series on homelessness. He's like doing the book tour. Like Pat's going to be coming in here doing the book tour. Andy's out doing the education series tour. So what's going to be going on at this event?
Yeah, so every Tuesday night in June, so 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. at the Vancouver Housing Authority Community Room, 2500 Main Street in Vancouver. We are having a series that the first one is sort of that just happened is an overview about the homelessness in general and the response that we have locally. And then we're taking in turn sort of what is that emergency shelter, that immediate basic need response. Then we're going to look at housing assistance. And basically, as we go through these conversations, it's really with an eye towards what do we already have in the community, what's working, what's not working, and where are the gaps, what needs to be added.
No, if you missed the first one, though, you can still come to the other ones. You'll be fine.
We'll do a little recap at the beginning.
All right. Cool.
Perfect. Good. So that's Vancouver Housing Authority. I don't have to write it down. I just interviewed there not too long ago, in case no one.
And I should say, look, we don't have it scheduled yet, but we're hoping to later do a series in Battleground
That's
and then
awesome.
out in Washington.
Yeah.
Great.
We'll have to connect offline here and talk about that. I think that's a great idea.
So outside of that, so Andy, I will say, I said this at the beginning. You and I know each other. We've known each other for a while. And when I first called you to come on here, this was great. I love this. You said, "Oh, sure, I'd love to do it," but wait. I can't. And I gave you at least a month notice. That's not a joke. I'm not joking around.
I can explain this.
Okay.
I know where this is going.
Yeah, good. Because I told you I was going to call you out.
I know.
So before he came on, I was like, "Hey, man, we're recording on this date." He said, "Oh, I have another event planned." It was a month in advance.
You're thinking like this is some homeless.
No, I really did. I was like, crap. He's got something else more important that goes. Something going on. Why don't we tell everyone real quick?
I had a haircut. And here's the thing. First of all, your 17 listeners at home can't see how fabulous I look right now. But you don't just roll out of bed in the morning and look like the way I do, okay?
Oh my God,
and so this is the story. So I never remember. I always wait until my hair looks ridiculous before I get it cut. And I was complaining to the person who cuts the 3 hairs I have left about how I always wait too long. And she said, "Why don't you just schedule the next appointment before you leave?"
There you go.
And it was
makes sense.
And then I did this, and now I'm pretty sure a decade from now, whenever I run into this guy, I'm going to hear about it.
You know what was classic is immediately.
Is he going to ask you when's the next one?
3:30 today.
We hang up the phone, and my first thought was, "Does that guy have much hair? What's going on there?" It was like I don't remember like an Allman Brother look happening down at this guy. But, oh my God,
less and less every day.
That was classic, man.
Me both.
Well, that was so. What do you do outside? Cause just real quick, because I literally told Mike before we got on here, because every person we've had, and I've said this, that has come on, I feel I know fairly well. Andy, I know the least about. It is literally, it's like a Where's Waldo game in the community when he's not around at some meeting. But I get along with the guy. I mean, we get along very nice, and
I don't care for him.
He doesn't.
Obviously, he didn't hire him.
Obviously, yeah. He said no. That's he recused himself from the interview. He went a different direction. He was like, "P.S. Get rid of the guy." Yeah, he could not wait to send me down that second floor of stairs.
Well, how much more awkward it would have been if I was the one interviewing you?
It would have been. Well, you know what? Yeah, that's true. I wouldn't have had a shot at the job. But by the looks of it, I didn't have a shot anyways. So, but what do you do outside of here? Because I just really, when I first started, because I knew who you were. I was with the ARC, with their housing for a little bit when I stepped down from the board there. And then, I went to some of these meetings where it was like 30 people showing up to these housing meetings. And I was almost overwhelmed there. It's in the basement floor at the YWCA, and I was like, I cannot do this stuff. Well, as fortunate as it was, I left that just a couple months later. But then I see Andy here and there, but it's always in a professional role. Mm-hmm. Like, this is the first time I have ever seen him outside of Council for the Homeless. So I have no idea what goes on in your world. What goes on in your world?
Well, I have a daughter who's 3.5 who takes up a considerable amount of time.
Yeah.
So that's a big portion of it. I like to do. I'm a trail runner.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I did last summer. I did a 50-mile.
We do the same stuff.
Yep,
Yeah.
I can tell. Like you guys are wearing your trail running shoes right now.
I'm in trail running shoes on. I'm going to do the other trail later.
We just got back from Hood to... Was it Hood to Coast going on?
Yeah, Washington Hood to Coast. Yeah, it's the Washington
Hood. So I'm wearing a hoodie, so I pointed to the hoodie. So
I'm more of a coast guy.
Yeah,
I just go to the coast. Yeah.
Sorry about interrupting.
Council member Topper did a triathlon this morning.
I saw that.
She's coming on in a couple weeks, and yeah, I
dedicated to
I tried telling her back in the day I was a cross country runner. She looked at me and laughed. She did not believe that.
I was a cross country runner.
Well, that's believable. I mean, give me a break. But yeah, I tell people that they're like, really? Yeah, there's no belief at all with them.
That's a tough one.
Yeah,
tough sell.
So you do some trail running, and you got a 3.5-year-old, which the young kids take. You have a young kid too.
I have a 5.5-year-old. Yeah.
I don't. I have old kids at this, and not even kids, a young adult. I have one that's a legit adult. She's going on 20 this year, and then I have another. Young adult, a teen now, and he's
tween
going
is probably the
14. What's 14?
That's a teen then. Okay.
He'll be 14 in just a couple months, man.
Wow, that's
he keeps telling me about the light mustache he's getting on his upper lip, and at that point, you just want them to go live somewhere else for a couple years. I'm done with kids. That's no more for me.
Well, this is a good. So Saturday night last weekend. So we went to Pinkalicious in downtown Portland with my 3.5-year-old, which is a children's play about a girl who eats too many pink cupcakes and turns pink.
Oh, wow.
So I thought it was a restaurant. That's going to be like
sounds like Portland, doesn't it?
That's my social life.
That is the social life of you. Yeah. I have never gone to sing Pinkalicious. I'm imagining it was quite rewarding.
Sure.
She enjoyed it, right?
She absolutely loved it until it ended and then had a complete meltdown.
Oh, man.
Oh, yeah. You know what? I do more adult stuff now with my wife. Yeah. We went over to... Where was it? Went over to somewhere, the Aladdin Theater over in Portland.
Oh, yeah.
And saw Stephen Lynch. And if no one's heard of Stephen Lynch, he's like a comedy musician.
Gotcha, yeah.
Oh, my God. It was a blast. Couldn't do that stuff when my kids are young. I lost 10 years of my social life when I had young kids. That's when it really happens. And then they wind up hitting your guts, and you're like, what'd I put all this time into you for? Could have been someone at this point. Could have been president.
No, not about that.
Well,
who knows?
Let's not get carried away.
President of Council for the Homeless. Could have been one step above executive director.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna find you the right fit.
Good. Oh, speaking of the right fit, just don't as much as this has been offered.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Your resume.
Yeah, just want to pass it along. I go ahead. Look at that. It's almost like I prepared it for him.
Do you have...
Mark Bolt walked out with one. Andy's walking out with one.
There you go.
Maybe Bart Hansen will walk out with one.
Maybe.
Do you guys have a recycling bin in the studio?
No, we don't carry those. You got to at least take it to your car when you leave. So, yeah, this is good. This is good that we got him, Eric. And, he can call me up, I can pitch him some ideas on new positions for me. We can lobby for more dollars for it so we can get a position
now he has your
in-house.
number, so he knows what number to block or ignore.
This is the last conversation Andy will ever have with me. I will never see the guy again. I think he's Waldo in the community now. He's never going to be around for a heartbeat.
Well, you may be in the same room, but you'll make that brief eye contact thing and just walk separate ways.
He will 100% leave the room after that. There is no way around it. Well,
dude, I'm excited. Let's get to trivia.
Yeah. We've done trivia with Mark Bolt, and we've done trivia with Monica Stonier.
Yeah.
And it was fun. We had a good time doing it. So we're kind of keeping it at the end so we can end on a little lighthearted note here because we kind of get deep into the subject matter and we just want to end on a high note. So this time I wrote up a few questions, and you and Mike are going to have a little competition. And this is what you're playing for here. This came out of my personal collection. This is the Lenny Kravitz action figure for The Simpsons, Lenny Kravitz. So highly collectible.
And for those of you at home, with a $15.99 price tag on it.
That was back in the day.
Oh,
right?
yeah,
Who knows what this is now? That
could be $16.99
could be tens of dollars.
That could be an endowment for the Council for the Homeless.
There you go. We'll figure something out.
We'll put on eBay and see where it goes.
You know, no matter what, at some point I will be doing something for Council for the Homeless.
All right.
Yeah, it's.
So how are we gonna do this?
Okay. So I wrote up some questions here, so no one could see them, and Mike had no idea what I wrote, and Andy didn't even know about this until 2 seconds ago.
Jeff was off in the other room, and
It was. So the format's going to be first person to raise their hand. You know, there's only 5 or 6 questions here, but it's whoever's ahead at the end. If you raise your hand, get it wrong, the other person has a chance to answer. So that's what we're doing here. Right. And it's all over the map. We got a few different questions, but he's a smart dude. Yeah, I don't know how he is with
Jeff. You're setting me up for failure. I know it. You've structured these questions.
Yeah. What do we have, like categories or anything?
Okay. There's some geography.
Okay.
There's there is some history. There's pop culture.
We're all
a little shaky there. Yeah. And then there's music trivia. There's literature.
Okay.
And then one my personal favorites at the bottom here.
Okay.
Which it's just something that my son could answer. So I would hope that one of you 2 goofballs could answer.
Probably not.
No. Okay. So we're starting. Remember.
Hands up.
Hands up.
End of the question, we raise our hands, or we do it like right away?
Yeah, that's a good question.
You know what?
Can I just start like this?
Right.
If you know it, just shoot your hand up. Right. I don't even care. Okay. Capital of New York State.
Albany.
Correct, Mike D'Alessandro. First expedition around the world was conducted by who? Mike D'Alessandro.
Magellan.
I'm not quick enough.
Silver. You got to get on board.
I'm just going to raise my hand. I don't know what the... No.
I'll slow down.
Played Goose's wife in Top Gun.
Oh, that one.
It's a throwback. It's a throwback.
Goose's wife.
I can picture her.
Yeah, I'm out on this
You're out on this one?
Blonde.
Oh, I'm hearing our producer. Oh, Mr. Silver.
Meg Ryan.
That is correct. That is the correct answer.
It just came to me.
I'm sure it did. 2-1. 2-1.
All right.
Music group with the most Grammys.
Ooh, that's going to be
the most
Grammys.
Come on, most Grammys.
Is this an artist or a group?
Music group with the most Grammys. Someone's got to just shoot their hand up there. This at a standstill. I knew this.
I can guess this, but I'm trying to make sure it's a good guess.
Well, educated guess is what we'll accept right now.
Group with Grammys.
Give us an era.
A genre or an era, maybe?
Yeah. Wow.
Okay, this group probably came around. I first know them from the late 80s.
From the late
80s. What genre
80s.
is this?
This is, like rock a little.
Like I don't know. Popular music?
Yeah, they definitely were popular.
Late 80s group.
That's an activism group.
It's an activism?
Well,
hold on. No.
Okay, no more.
Don't give it away. Give us a second here. So late 80s.
Come on, everyone listening knows this by this point.
Late 80s.
And they're still around?
Yes, they're still around.
They're still making new stuff?
I don't know. I have not listened to them in a while, so I was kind of surprised they're still the group with the most Grammys.
Oh.
But yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to go with Aerosmith.
No, that's my favorite group, though.
Aerosmith was the first concert I ever went to.
Aerosmith. Whoa, what is going on?
All right, so
you have a chance to guess outside of Aerosmith.
Chance to tie it up right now.
Yeah.
Aerosmith came out earlier than that, but I was thinking that maybe they got real popular in the late 80s again.
They did. If it was
know about Aerosmith,
though,
as what the listeners know, I'm not a complete jerk or idiot or whatever.
I didn't say, by the way, everyone listening, I didn't say 1972. I said late 80s.
I know, but
D'Alessandro's way off here.
Jeez.
I'm really struggling with this one.
Think what groups were highly popular. And then I mentioned activism.
Rat.
It's someone from
what? I can't think. Oh, U2?
There we go.
U2! Don't call it a comeback.
Look at that.
For years.
Oh my God.
Here's an irony. I went to a U2 concert about 5 years ago. Lenny Kravitz was the opening act.
Oh, it's all.
See, it's meant to be.
Wow.
He's going to win now. He's going to win now.
Okay. Well,
I'm feeling pretty good about that.
Oh, how did I not get that?
I didn't even cheat on that one either.
The 2 German philosophers who wrote the Communist Manifesto. Mr. Silver, was that a hand up?
That was
or
a
are you
hand.
scratching
I just
your
want to
beard
know
there?
I'm doing both.
What's going on?
Well, so
there's 2. The one initially comes to mind. I guarantee. Marx. There we go.
And Engels.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that was amazing.
I was a little less confident with that.
So what now? It's
in case there was a tie, I had a tiebreaker.
So we're tied.
There was no tie.
Is that the last one?
He just beat you. He just
I
beat
didn't
you.
say it was last question. I was all like,
you wouldn't have got that.
I just stole home.
All right, give me the tiebreaker at least. I want to try
the
that one.
tiebreaker was the most popular all-time board game.
I'm just gonna go with Monopoly.
Yeah, that's what I would.
No, I'm sorry. It is not Monopoly.
Sorry.
Monopoly. It was not sorry either. Chess.
That's not a board game.
It's a board game? What's wrong with you two?
That's ridiculous. Right
Silver,
there.
don't you gotta direct some business downtown? What's wrong with you? That was it.
Why don't you go down there and don't hire some people?
It's I actually will give
congratulations on Lenny Kravitz.
Thank you.
Yeah, he's got it out here.
I was thinking this was a real waste of time, but now
no, he's got it. He's got it. He got it.
Well, at the end of this, we'll pose for a picture, and you make sure you proudly present that.
Yep. We luckily had 2 of those.
This is great.
Is that why you chose that?
They're collectibles. They're collectibles.
Yeah.
All right. Ending up here, wrapping up. Yeah. Final thoughts, Mike?
No, thanks a lot for coming on. I think this is an issue, actually, when we first sat down months ago and started talking about doing a podcast at all.
Long time ago.
One of the first issues that came up was this issue, because we don't almost put words in Jeff's mouth here, but I will for a second. This podcast isn't all politics all the time. So we're trying to also focus on community issues. And obviously, to us, the first one that boom, we need to get figured out to talk with someone about is homelessness. And so, we're grateful that you were able to come on the show, and we really got into some heavy questions, I think, but really good information. We went a little longer than normal, but I think that's also good because this stuff is really good. I think it's really good information. I learned a lot, and I know that our 17 followers are going to learn a lot.
Oh, absolutely.
We may even get up to 18 after this.
You never know.
My mom.
My mom doesn't even listen to the podcast. So
it might float at 17 for a couple months here.
I can't get my 18-year-old to listen to it. My wife, if I force her to listen to it. Jeff never listens to it at all.
I don't listen. I don't. But the thing is with me, I've come in and recorded it, so why would I go back and listen to it? I hate the sound of my voice on hearing.
Our 17 followers do as well.
My son wanted to. Yeah, they really do. But my son begged me to put it on, so I put on a little while back Bolts. When we did Bolts. I put on the first. Actually, I fast forwarded it all the way to the last couple minutes, because that's where we start having fun. And my son's he's not going to be into what happened with Macaulay. And I listened to about 30 seconds and I was like, nope, turn it off. So I closed it out.
But on a serious note, though, thanks for coming on. But I also do want to thank the people that are listening to us.
Because absolutely.
We are getting a lot of people new to the show listening to us. And I know, and I want to thank John, John Oberg here, who's been helping us out.
John's a great guy.
And really been getting us out there. We are on YouTube now. We are on SoundCloud. We're on iTunes. And John, what's the other thing we're on? Google Play. So we're out there. And we do have a lot of people listening to us. And we encourage you to engage with us online.
We have a Twitter.
We do have Twitter and Facebook. We've had Facebook since day one.
Twitting by.
So we're out there. We're looking forward to keep this thing going. And I did want to take a second though to thank everybody. We've had a lot of people jump on since we got a little notoriety in the local papers on the Mark Bold interview. But thanks everyone, and engage online with us. Send us in our guest ideas. Who's interested? I mean, we've had people ask us to come on the show all the time, but hey, we do want to open this up to community issues as well, not just politicians and such. So, but thanks everyone. And thanks again, Andy, for coming on.
With myself, obviously, thank you, Andy, for coming on. As we move forward here, I hope in the future that we can maybe get you back in as things improve in our community, because I'm very optimistic about it, and I think you guys do a great job down there. It's what led me to even tossing out my application down there. But on a serious note, we do have a lot of work to do, but I think our community is the right place to do it. Coming up on Unfiltered going forward, we have Bart Hansen, great guy. He's
good looking dude.
Good looking guy. Good looking man. Best. My
our
wife
wives
says,
think so.
Yeah,
right?
My wife tells me he's the best looking guy in local politics.
Well,
so that's
mine. I think pretty much said the same thing. So
yeah, and if I will say right now,
what does that say about
if your wife though? If you're married and your wife does not say, if your wife looks at Bart Hansen and she's like, you know what, he's not. You're better looking than him. You need to really reevaluate who you're married to. She's lying to your face. She's 100% lying to your face. Sure. I would not trust her, and you're done. So
we're both good then.
Yeah, we're both good because they say right to our face. Yeah, he's better looking than you guys by a long shot. It's not even close.
I'm sure he's smarter too. On top of it,
no way, absolutely.
No, okay. Right. Well, maybe
we'll find out.
We'll find out. Yeah. Trivia will be the true test.
There we go, if he's up. Yeah. And then we have Pat Gelada coming in, and she got a new book deal, and she's going to be talking about that a little bit, and it'll be a little history lesson as well, because it'll be for our July 4th episode.
Right around that time.
Right around that time.
We'll talk about some local history, and it'll be fun.
And then Councilwoman Alicia Topper will be coming in. And my guess is with Alicia, too, It'll be interesting because I don't know Alicia as well.
Well, I'm sure we'll talk about this issue.
We'll be talking a little bit about Prop 1 and affordable housing and some of the other stuff happening at city level. As well. She has a new job with our favorite man, Doug Lasher, man. I love Doug. I love Doug.
We will have Doug on this show one day.
Doug will come on at some point with us because I love Doug. I don't want to hear anything necessarily even relating to being the treasurer. I think you already know I want to talk to him.
We do.
About
let's keep it. Let's keep it quiet. We have a little fun surprise with that.
But I do love Doug, man. I wish I would have known. He was my neighbor growing up out in Hazelton. I wish I would have known that, and I would have been on his porch every day of the week, just being like, "Talk to me, Doug.
Tell me what a treasurer does."
But so we have I think a few fun guests coming up going into our summer months here. Yeah. And we just take it as it comes, man. So thank you from us at Unfiltered Podcast for listening, and have a great day.